Imagine this: a plate of freshly baked cookies still warm from the oven, soft and gooey at the center. Nearby, a bowl of rainbow colored candies glistens under the light. There's a towering slice of chocolate cake draped in silky frosting. An ice cream cone stacked high begins to drip down the side. Just picturing these treats might have already triggered something in your body, a slight salivation, a pang of desire. But why? Why is it that sugary foods have such a powerful hold on us? What's happening inside our brains when we encounter sweetness? Let's take a journey inside your body, following sugar's path from the first taste on your tongue to the cascading effects it unleashes deep in your brain. Sugar, despite how we commonly think of it, isn't just one thing. It's a category of molecules known as carbohydrates, and it exists in far more places than you might expect. Sure, it's in cakes, sodas, and candy bars, but you'll also find it hiding in tomato sauce, yogurt, granola bars, salad dressings, even seemingly healthy items like dried fruit or flavored water. On food labels, sugar goes by many names: glucose, fructose, sucrose, maltose, lactose, dextrose, high fructose corn syrup, fruit juice concentrate, raw sugar, honey. It's everywhere. Now, think about what happens the moment sugar hits your tongue. The sweet taste receptors on your taste buds immediately fire off signals. These signals travel up the brainstem and into various parts of the forebrain, eventually arriving in the cerebral cortex, where different regions are responsible for interpreting different tastes. Bitter, salty, savory, sour, each has its own specialized section. Sweetness has its own special place too, and it doesn't just stop at recognition. From here, the brain lights up in a network known as the reward system. This is not a single location, but rather a series of interconnected regions communicating through electrical impulses and chemical messengers. And this network has one job: to help you decide, often subconsciously, whether something is worth repeating. When you take a bite of a decadent dessert and feel a warm rush of pleasure, that's your reward system whispering, "Yes, more of that, please." This system isn't just reserved for food. Social interactions, romantic moments, even addictive drugs all stimulate the same circuitry. Dopamine is the key player here, a neurotransmitter that acts like a chemical messenger of pleasure and motivation. When released, dopamine gives you that little buzz of satisfaction, reinforcing behavior so you'll seek them out again. But here's where things get complicated. If this system gets overstimulated, if the reward circuitry is triggered too frequently or too intensely, it begins to change. You start to crave the thing that caused the stimulation. You may lose control over your impulses, and your brain might need more and more of the stimulus to get the same pleasurable hit. This is the mechanism behind addiction. While sugar doesn't hijack the brain with the same violent intensity as heroin or nicotine, it still activates the dopamine system, and for many people, it does so repeatedly every single day. Now, rewind to that bite of cereal you had this morning. After passing through your mouth and starting the reward cascade, the sugar moves into your stomach and then into your intestines. Here, too, your body's paying attention. Specialized sugar receptors in the gut, not taste buds, but sensors, nonetheless send more information to your brain. These receptors help regulate feelings of fullness and instruct the pancreas to release insulin, the hormone responsible for managing blood sugar levels. The deeper you go into this chain reaction, the clearer it becomes. Sugar doesn't just make food taste good, it rewires your brain to seek out more of it. Over time, this can lead to compulsive eating behaviors, tolerance, needing more sugar for the same effect, and even withdrawal symptoms when it's removed from the diet. And unlike broccoli or spinach, which don't stimulate the dopamine system, sugar is uniquely positioned to be habit forming. That's why kids and adults aren't begging for extra servings of green vegetables. Those foods might be nutritious, but they don't trigger the brain's pleasure centers in the same way. Now let's shift the scenario. Say you're hungry and decide to eat a wholesome, balanced meal, say grilled salmon with quinoa and vegetables. You eat, feel full, and dopamine is released. But if you continue eating that exact same dish day after day, your brain's response diminishes. The dopamine surge gets smaller and smaller until it nearly flatlines. That's because our brains evolved to crave variety. It was nature's way of nudging us to diversify our diets and get a wide range of nutrients. But here's the twist: sugar breaks that rule. When you eat sugar frequently, And in large amounts, your brain doesn't adjust the dopamine response downward. Instead, it continues to reward you every time. That reliable hit of pleasure keeps you coming back. It's like your brain never gets bored of the taste, unlike with most other foods. So even if you've eaten cake every night for a week, your brain still lights up on night 8. That persistent dopamine response is what gives sugar its powerful grip and why it can mimic the addictive pathways of more dangerous substances. That doesn't mean a piece of birthday cake will ruin your brain chemistry. Occasional indulgence is part of a joyful life. But it does mean that chronic overconsumption of sugar, often driven not by conscious choice, but by the hidden sugars lurking in processed foods, can lead to long-term changes in the brain's reward circuitry. These changes can fuel overeating, reduce your sensitivity to natural rewards like fruits or healthy meals, and make it harder to control cravings. Each type of sugar, be it table sugar, fruit juice, or honey, may have subtle differences in how quickly it's absorbed or how it affects blood glucose. But from the brain's perspective, they all eventually funnel into the same system. They all hit the same reward centers. They all tell your brain, that was good, let's do it again. What's remarkable is how little sugar it takes to get this process started. Even small doses can create a priming effect in the brain, making you more likely to seek out more sweetness soon after. And because our environment is saturated with sugary options, it's easy to fall into a cycle without even realizing it. A sugary breakfast bar leads to a mid-morning craving for a sweet coffee drink, which leads to an afternoon cookie, then a post-dinner dessert. Each moment feels like a harmless choice, but together they train the brain to expect and demand more sugar. All of this doesn't mean sugar is evil, but it does mean it's powerful. Its influence on our brain and behavior goes far beyond a preference for sweetness. It's a neurological force that taps into some of the oldest and most primitive parts of our biology, designed to reward behaviors that once ensured survival, like eating calorie-rich food in times of scarcity. The problem is, we no longer live in a world of scarcity. We live in a world of overabundance, where sugar is cheap, accessible, and hidden in places we least expect. Our brains, however, haven't evolved to match that reality. They still light up for sugar like it's a precious resource, and that mismatch between ancient wiring and modern diet is a major reason why so many people struggle with overeating, weight gain, and food-related addiction. So the next time you reach for that cookie or drizzle a little honey into your tea, take a moment to consider what's happening behind the scenes. It's not just a snack, it's a neural event, a tiny chemical storm that reinforces a powerful feedback loop, one bite at a time. But here's the hopeful part. Awareness is power. By understanding how sugar manipulates the brain, we gain a new level of control over our choices. We can learn to read labels more carefully, notice patterns in our cravings, and build habits that balance pleasure with mindfulness. Because in the end, it's not about eliminating sweetness from life, it's about reclaiming control over it.